The day began like any other on Earth. Cities hummed with life, children ran through parks, and millions of humans went about their daily routines. But far above, satellites and deep space communication relays were quietly monitoring the galaxy. They picked up signals from distant colonies, alien worlds, and even the occasional rogue spaceship. Humanity had always kept a careful watch, wary of the unknown but confident in their place in the cosmos. Then it happened. Across every holographic screen, public communication panel, and personal device capable of streaming video, the universe witnessed a horror that shook humans to their core. The live feed showed millions of humans being slaughtered on a distant colony, a world that had been thriving until today. The screen flickered, and millions more humans gathered around devices, horrified, unable to look away. The voice on the broadcast was calm, almost clinical, like a teacher explaining a lesson. Welcome, citizens of the galaxy, to the Zereth Syndicate's special entertainment hour. Today, we present a demonstration of human fragility. Commander Ilara Voss leaned back in her chair on Earth's orbital command station. Her hands gripped the arms tightly. She had seen war before, had trained for threats from hostile alien factions, but nothing like this. Not 7 million human lives extinguished in the blink of an eye, and all for the amusement of alien audiences. This is impossible, she muttered. Her voice barely carried over the hum of the station. They can't, why would they do this? But the answer was clear. The Zereth Syndicate, a galaxy-spanning media conglomerate, specialized in broadcasting cruelty as entertainment. They had captured a colony and streamed the slaughter live, knowing every corner of the galaxy could watch. Their message was simple: humans are weak. Humans are entertainment. News channels erupted instantly. Social media platforms overloaded. People screamed, cried, and argued. Governments around the world issued statements, but their words were meaningless against the flood of images showing innocent humans dying. It was a crime so massive, so inhuman, that no one could comprehend it fully. The victims were farmers, teachers, engineers, children, all ordinary humans, ordinary lives snuffed out for alien amusement. Ilara's mind raced. She knew that humanity could not sit quietly while the universe watched them bleed. "We are going to do something about this," she said to her assistant, Lieutenant Ryan Cho, who had been monitoring the communication channels. "If the Syndicate thinks they can humiliate us, they are sorely mistaken." Ryan nodded, his face pale. "Commander, this could start a war. They are powerful. They have fleets, weapon platforms, and entire systems under their control. Earth alone cannot." Ilara cut him off. "Earth alone? No, humanity together. And you know something, Ryan? The galaxy has underestimated humans for too long. It's time we remind them who we are." Meanwhile, across the planets in the colony system, survivors huddled in makeshift shelters. They were few, scattered, and terrified. But even in their despair, a spark of hope ignited. They had always admired the resilience of humans, even the simple acts of courage or compassion. And now, in the face of unimaginable horror, they whispered stories of Earth's defenders, of humans who had always found ways to survive against impossible odds. On Earth, governments convened emergency meetings. Scientists, military officers, and politicians gathered in secure bunkers. The images were replayed endlessly on secure monitors. Analysts scrambled to understand the Syndicate's technology. It was unlike anything humanity had encountered. Their weapons could obliterate entire cities in seconds, and their broadcast technology reached across dozens of light years, transmitting without delay. For every human in the galaxy watching, the impact was immediate and devastating. Yet, in the midst of fear, there was determination. Engineers began reverse engineering alien transmission systems. Military tacticians mapped possible fleet movements, and scientists considered ways to infiltrate Zereth networks. Humanity had always thrived in the face of danger, adapting, improvising, and turning the impossible into reality. This would be no different. Alara addressed the public via a global broadcast. Her voice was calm but resolute. Today, the galaxy saw a tragedy. 7 million of our people were taken from us, and for what? To entertain those who do not value life. But let it be known, humanity does not forget, humanity does not forgive, and humanity will strike back. Her words spread like wildfire. Across Earth, humans stopped focusing on fear and began thinking about action. Communities organized, sharing intelligence, resources, and plans. Civilians with technical skills volunteered for research and strategy programs. Former military personnel returned to duty. Even children, inspired by their parents' courage, drew pictures and wrote messages of hope, some of which were sent to orbital relays to remind those watching that humans were not defenseless. Across the galaxy, aliens took notice. Many had always dismissed humans as primitive, weak, and unremarkable. Now they were seeing something different, a species that grieved deeply but could channel that grief into focused, intelligent, and unstoppable action. Rumors spread in alien councils that Earth was mobilizing. Some laughed, thinking humans would fail. Others grew uneasy, sensing that perhaps they had misjudged humanity entirely. Back on the command station, Alara and her team worked tirelessly. They studied Zereth communication patterns, analyzing how the broadcasts were structured, how the Syndicate controlled its fleets, and how humans might turn their arrogance against them. In one meeting, a young analyst pointed out a flaw. The Syndicate believed humans were predictable. They thought fear would immobilize humanity. But humans had a history of surprise, of taking the impossible and finding ways to turn it around. That flaw could be exploited. Days passed, and Earth continued to organize. Humans set up intelligence networks across nearby star systems, sending encrypted signals to colonies and friendly alien species. They offered assistance, shared warnings, and quietly prepared for retaliation. Unlike the Syndicate, humans didn't act recklessly. Every move was measured, precise, and designed to maximize their advantage while minimizing unnecessary loss. The alien Syndicate, meanwhile, remained unaware of the storm building on Earth. They assumed humans would remain a passive audience, shocked and helpless. They did not see the sparks of defiance that had already ignited in orbital stations, secret labs, and even ordinary homes. They did not anticipate that humanity's greatest weapons were not just their fleets or technology, but their ingenuity, resilience, and relentless drive to protect their own. Alara often returned to the image that haunted her: millions of innocent humans taken in cold blood, displayed for the galaxy to see. It was a memory that would fuel every plan, every calculation, every strike humanity would launch in the coming weeks. She reminded her team daily that this was not just about revenge. It was about proving to the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated, exploited, or entertained at the expense of their lives. As night fell on Earth, the screens in homes, stations, and ships displayed a single, unified message across all human-controlled frequencies. You wanted to humiliate us. You wanted to show the galaxy we are weak. Watch carefully. Humanity remembers, humanity adapts, and humanity strikes back. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the Syndicate's broadcasting hub, alien executives laughed. They thought the humans were simply performing another ritual of fear and grief. They had no idea that a species they considered insignificant was already planning the most remarkable comeback the galaxy would ever witness. A species that would soon remind everyone why humans are always, somehow, unstoppable. Part 1 ends here with humanity in shock but united, grief transforming into determination, and the first seeds of HFY pride planted firmly. No matter how powerful or cruel the galaxy seemed, humans would rise, adapt, and retaliate. 7 million lives lost would not be in vain. They were the spark that would ignite a reckoning the universe would never forget. The shock of the massacre still hung over Earth, but the grief that had frozen humanity for a moment now burned like fire in every heart. The Zirath Syndicate had thought that showing 7 million humans dying would break the human spirit. They were wrong. They had sparked it. Commander Alara Voss walked through the halls of the Earth Orbital Command Station. Around her, the hum of human activity was louder than ever. Scientists were working side by side with engineers, students volunteered to assist with communications, and military personnel coordinated with strategy teams. Every action had one goal: strike back at the syndicate. "We have to be precise," Alara said during a briefing. Her voice carried over the chatter, calm but commanding. "This isn't just revenge. It's a message to the galaxy, to our enemies, and to anyone who thinks humans can be treated as expendable. We will hit them where it hurts the most: their arrogance." Lieutenant Ryan Cho pointed at a holographic map of Zirath-controlled systems. "We've identified their main broadcasting hubs. They're heavily guarded, of course, but there are weaknesses in the relay networks. Their arrogance is their flaw. They never expected humans to coordinate this quickly." Alara smiled slightly. "Then we'll use that. Every human in this room, every civilian helping, every fleet commander, and every engineer is part of a single plan. We move fast, adapt faster, and make sure the syndicate never forgets the name Earth." The first step was intelligence. Human engineers tapped into Zirath communication channels, carefully decrypting alien codes and uncovering patterns in their broadcasts. Human programmers, working in shifts around the clock, discovered that the syndicate relied heavily on predictable algorithms. Their entertainment broadcasts, their fleet movements, even the way they tracked human responses, it all followed strict routines. Humans could bend, twist, and break patterns, but aliens could not. That difference was already a weapon. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, humans started sending encrypted messages to distant colonies. Survivors from attacked systems received warnings and aid. Refugees were guided to safe zones, while scientists shared knowledge of human technologies to help them defend themselves. The humans' reputation as unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient spread quickly. Other alien races began to whisper. Could these fragile-looking creatures really be more dangerous than anyone thought? On Earth, scientists completed a breakthrough. A cloaking system adapted from Zirath stealth technology, combined with human engineering ingenuity. It allowed Earth ships to move silently through enemy-controlled space. Military leaders saw the potential immediately. "We can strike directly at their broadcasting hubs," said Admiral Marcus Lay, "without alerting their fleets." "No one has ever done this to the syndicate before." Alara nodded. "Good, but remember, precision is key. We don't want civilians caught in the crossfire. This isn't mindless destruction. This is strategy." Across the alien systems, the syndicate continued to broadcast their cruel shows. They were unaware of the storm building, assuming humans were still in shock, still mourning, still helpless. But on Earth, humanity was anything but helpless. The first strike came quietly. Cloaked human ships appeared near a secondary broadcasting hub. Using new virus-based AI systems, humans infiltrated the syndicate's networks. Screens across dozens of star systems suddenly flickered, then went black, replaced by a single human-made message. "Your entertainment ends today." The message was brief, but its impact was monumental. Zirath executives panicked, ordering fleet movements to protect their assets. But humans were already adapting. Every move the aliens made was anticipated, every weakness exploited. Fleets were rerouted into traps where human drones disabled their engines, and human ships struck from unexpected angles. Back on Earth, civilians watched live streams of these first successful strikes. Tears flowed, but not of fear, of relief, pride, and awe. Humans were fighting back, not with emotion alone, but with intelligence, creativity, and teamwork. It was exactly what the Zirath Syndicate had not expected. The aliens' arrogance became their downfall. They underestimated humans at every turn. Every predictable routine the Syndicate used to control their operations became a vulnerability, and humans exploited it brilliantly. Every small victory, every disrupted broadcast, sent waves of fear through alien audiences who had previously laughed at humanity. Alara's team didn't stop at technology. They used human ingenuity in unexpected ways. One group developed psychological tactics for alien crews, using simulations of unstoppable human advances to create hesitation and confusion. Another group hacked minor alien networks, planting false intelligence to mislead enemy commanders. Humans were everywhere at once, not through brute force, but through brilliance. Even on distant colonies, humans who survived the initial massacres played their part. Farmers who had learned engineering basics, engineers who had once been teachers, and ordinary civilians all contributed. They repaired communication relays, prepared defenses, and helped coordinate strikes. The galaxy had always assumed humans were fragile. Now they were proving the exact opposite. One particularly daring maneuver involved sending a fleet disguised as a syndicate relief convoy to a heavily guarded hub. Human ships carried drones that mimicked alien communication signals. When the hub opened its gates, expecting reinforcements, the drones disabled security protocols. Humans infiltrated the hub and broadcast messages of hope, exposing syndicate brutality. Alien executives were horrified as the galaxy watched live footage of their own empire crumbling. Amidst all this, Alara never lost sight of the human cost. She frequently reminded her teams, "We are fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves." Every life lost is a reminder, not a weapon for anger. Our victory is for justice, not hatred. Yet, despite the focus and discipline, emotions ran high. Families of victims contacted command centers to volunteer, sharing information, skills, or simply giving their moral support. Communities across Earth were united in grief and determination. The human spirit, fueled by loss, became a weapon more powerful than any fleet or weapon system. Aliens watching the strikes began to panic. They had never seen a species fight with both brains and heart, courage and compassion. The simple humans they had dismissed as weak were now outsmarting, outmaneuvering, and outlasting them. The galaxy slowly started to realize humans were more than resilient. They were unpredictable, unstoppable, and united. As the first week of counterattacks ended, humans had achieved something extraordinary. Several broadcasting hubs were destroyed, alien fleets were crippled, and colonies previously under syndicate control began to communicate freely again. Humans had lost some ships and personnel, but every loss was minimized by careful planning, intelligence, and adaptation. The victories were enough to inspire hope across the galaxy. On Earth, Alara watched the progress reports. She allowed herself a rare smile. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We have shown them that humans are not playthings. They will remember this. Every system we liberate, every hub we disable, every broadcast we reclaim, it all reminds the galaxy. Do not underestimate humanity." Meanwhile, Zirath executives met in emergency conferences. Their arrogance had blinded them. They believed fear alone would control humans. Instead, it had ignited a movement that spread across star systems. Their carefully constructed empire was now vulnerable. Humanity, they realized too late, had turned grief into action, fear into courage, and loss into an unstoppable force. The galaxy watched, astonished. What had once been seen as ordinary humans were now strategic geniuses, engineers, fighters, and problem solvers. They were united, relentless, and fearless. Every small victory against the syndicate sent ripples of admiration, respect, and fear. Humans were no longer victims, they were champions. Alara knew this was only the start. The Zereth Syndicate still had resources, fleets, and colonies to defend. But humanity had proven its first point. No matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how cruel their games, humans would never bow, never surrender, and never be underestimated. As night fell on Earth and distant colonies alike, human eyes gazed at the stars, not in fear, but in determination. Every plan, every strike, and every strategy carried the memory of 7 million lost souls. Their sacrifice became fuel for humanity's unprecedented retaliation. The fires of grief had been transformed into engines of hope, ingenuity, and unstoppable resolve. And somewhere deep within the syndicate, alien executives whispered, finally recognizing the terrifying truth: humans are not weak. Humans are dangerous. Humans strike back. Part 2 ends here with humans actively retaliating, showing intelligence, creativity, and unity. The galaxy now begins to see why humans are a species that cannot be ignored. The galaxy had begun to whisper the same thing in fear and awe. Humans were unpredictable. They were clever, relentless, and united. The Zereth Syndicate, once confident in its cruelty, had begun to crumble under a series of unexpected blows. Yet even as humanity's victories mounted, the stakes were higher than ever. Every strike carried the weight of millions of lost lives, and the humans knew they could not fail. Commander Alara Voss stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Resolute. She surveyed the fleet, ships large and small, cloaked and bristling with adaptive weapons. Every officer knew the plan. Every engineer had a role. Every pilot was ready. The mission, the Syndicate's central broadcasting hub, a massive space station orbiting a gas giant in the Zereth Heart System. Destroying it would send a message across the galaxy unlike anything seen before. Lieutenant Ryan Cho leaned over the navigation console. This hub is the largest they have. Defenses are extreme, and reinforcements will arrive quickly. One mistake and it could be a massacre. Alara nodded. I know, but the galaxy has seen our first strikes. They know we are capable. They fear us already. Fear will be our ally if we use it right. Remember, this isn't just a battle. This is a demonstration that humans cannot be underestimated. The fleet moved in silence, cloaked by technology that adapted to Zereth sensors. Humans had perfected a combination of stealth, misdirection, and strategic improvisation. They had learned to anticipate alien reactions, to exploit every predictable move, and to adapt when the unexpected occurred. It was not brute force alone that would win this battle. It was intelligence, teamwork, and resolve. As the Resolute approached the target, analysts projected the hub's defenses. Turrets covered every approach vector, energy shields glimmered under alien design, and hundreds of fighter drones patrolled the perimeter. But humans did not hesitate. Using synchronized AI, human ships created multiple phantom signals, drawing the defenders away from critical points. Drones slipped past patrols, silently disabling external defense nodes, while smaller human ships prepared to infiltrate the station itself. The first human strike hit like lightning. Boarding pods, designed to be invisible to standard alien sensors, detached from cloaked carriers and sped toward the hub. The Syndicate's fighters scrambled, but they were reacting too slowly, misled by the phantom signals. Human troops breached the hull at multiple points, cutting through corridors and neutralizing alien defenses with efficiency and precision. Inside the hub, chaos erupted. Alien technicians and executives tried to maintain control, but every system humans touched began to fail. Communications flickered, displays glitched, and automated defenses turned against their own masters. Humans had not only infiltrated, they had turned the hub's own technology into a weapon. Meanwhile, Alara coordinated the strike from the flagship. Focus on the core transmission nodes, she ordered. If we bring them down, the entire syndicate network will collapse. Pilots and engineers worked in perfect harmony. A team of hackers, stationed aboard smaller vessels, overrode the central system and began uploading a human-made broadcast. Across the galaxy, Xerath audiences and allied species watched as their favorite entertainment. Channels suddenly displayed a human message. Your empire thrives on cruelty. Today it ends. Humanity remembers. Humanity adapts. Humanity strikes back. The effect was immediate. Alien fleets froze, unsure whether this was a trap or the beginning of a coordinated human invasion. The hub's automated defense systems malfunctioned, attacking their own ships. Panic rippled across the station as humans moved through corridors, neutralizing threats with calculated precision. Ilara allowed herself a brief smile. Every tactic they had tested, every human skill honed over weeks of preparation was working flawlessly. But she reminded her team, "We are not here to celebrate yet. The core is heavily shielded. This is the final stage. Focus, adapt, and strike." As human boarding teams reached the central core, the syndicate executives tried one last desperate measure. A self-destruct sequence began, designed to obliterate the hub and anyone inside. But humans had anticipated it. Technicians had already installed countermeasures that neutralized the countdown, and every path to the core was secured. Inside the core, humans worked quickly. Engineers bypassed security protocols, dismantled energy conduits, and prepared to upload a virus that would permanently disable the hub's broadcasting capability. It was a delicate operation. One wrong move could cause a catastrophic explosion. But humans were precise. Every action was deliberate, every step calculated. Finally, the virus was deployed. Screens across the galaxy blinked, then went black. Xerath broadcasts ceased entirely. The hub's lights flickered and died. A deafening silence followed, broken only by the cheers of human crews as they transmitted proof of their victory across multiple channels. Millions of beings across the galaxy, both humans and aliens, witnessed the moment in real time. Ilara's voice came through all channels, calm, firm, and filled with authority. "The Syndicate has underestimated humanity. Let this be a lesson for all who would dare exploit or harm us. Humans are resilient. Humans are united. And humanity will never be controlled or humiliated again." The impact was immediate. Xerath executives were captured or forced to flee. Their fleets were in disarray, their colonies inspired to resist, and their entire media empire crippled. Across the galaxy, other species began to rethink their perception of humans. What had once been dismissed as a fragile, weak species was now feared and respected. Humanity's success was not just tactical, it was symbolic. Millions of lives had been lost, yes, but now those deaths had sparked a revolution of courage and ingenuity. Colonies once terrified of the Syndicate began to organize themselves, inspired by human methods and human resilience. Humans were not just fighting for survival, they were teaching the galaxy that unity, intelligence, and moral determination could overcome even the most powerful enemies. Back on Earth, celebrations were subdued but filled with pride. People mourned their losses, yes, but also recognized the strength that had risen from tragedy. Citizens, students, engineers, and soldiers alike had contributed to a victory that would be remembered across the stars. Humanity had not just struck back, they had turned the tide, and the galaxy was watching. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Resolute, looking at the galaxy beyond the station's viewports. Stars twinkled innocently, unaware of the drama unfolding among them. She allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. 7 million lives had been taken, but those lives had not been in vain. Humanity had demonstrated its resilience, its courage, and its unparalleled ability to adapt and overcome. Lieutenant Cho approached. "Commander, the galaxy is talking about us. They're saying humans are something else entirely now. Fear, respect, admiration all at once." Ilara nodded slowly. Let them talk. Words don't win battles, actions do. And today, humanity has acted. But this is only the beginning. We've shown our strength, but the syndicate still has reach. The next stage is to ensure no one ever dares challenge humanity again. And so, humanity prepared for the next phase. Colonies were rebuilt, fleets repaired, and networks fortified. But every victory, every liberated system, every disabled hub reminded the galaxy of one truth: humans were no longer victims. Humans were strategists, warriors, engineers, and visionaries. Humans had turned tragedy into triumph. Humans were unstoppable. The galaxy, which had once watched humans as entertainment or dismissed them as weak, now watched in awe and fear. For every action the syndicate had taken to dominate and humiliate, humanity had responded with brilliance, courage, and unity. And in the heart of every human, from the youngest engineer to the oldest commander, burned a simple truth: never underestimate humanity. Part 3 ends with humans achieving a massive turning point victory, crippling the syndicate's central hub, inspiring colonies, and establishing the galaxy's first real taste of HFY dominance. Humanity has proven it is clever, resourceful, and united, and the final phase, the ultimate reckoning, is yet to come. The galaxy had changed forever. What had begun as a tragedy, the live massacre of 7 million humans, had evolved into humanity's defining moment. The Zereth Syndicate, once a mighty empire of cruelty and entertainment, was in chaos. Its fleet scattered, its colonies inspired to resist, and its broadcasting empire dismantled. Humanity had struck back, and now it was time to finish what they had begun. Commander Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, watching the stars stretch into lines as faster-than-light drives carried human fleets toward the remaining syndicate strongholds. The humans' goal was clear: liberate all occupied colonies, capture or neutralize syndicate leaders, and ensure no being in the galaxy could ever again treat humans as expendable. Lieutenant Ryan Cho glanced at the navigation console. We've received reports from liberated colonies. Humans and allied species are rising up against syndicate garrisons. The syndicate is collapsing faster than we predicted. Ilara nodded. Good, but stay sharp. The syndicate is desperate now. They will try unpredictable moves. Their arrogance is gone, replaced by panic. That can be dangerous, but it can also be exploited. Across multiple star systems, humans coordinated with newly freed colonies. Engineers repaired damaged infrastructure, scientists shared technology and knowledge, and military units established secure defenses. The galaxy watched, astonished. Humans were not merely fighters, they were organizers, builders, and protectors. Their victories were strategic, precise, and morally grounded. Every move carried a lesson. Humans do not destroy recklessly. Humans liberate intelligently. The syndicate, meanwhile, scrambled to respond. Its leaders had retreated to their most secure system, a cluster of heavily shielded planets guarded by massive fleets. They believed that sheer firepower could crush humanity. They had not considered humans' ability to innovate under pressure. Humans had already developed cloaking techniques, adaptive shields, and AI-driven strategy programs that allowed them to strike where the enemy least expected. The first phase of the final assault began with a coordinated strike on the syndicate's outer defenses. Cloaked human ships approached undetected, releasing swarms of drones that neutralized automated weapon platforms. Alien pilots were caught off guard. Communications were jammed. Panic rippled through their ranks. Humans had mastered speed, precision, and misdirection, turning the syndicate's might into vulnerability. Ilara directed the fleet from the bridge. Focus on disabling the fleet command nodes first. We cannot let them coordinate a counterattack. Ryan, synchronize all AI drones for maximum disruption. Every syndicate system must be blinded before we strike the heart. As the human fleet advanced, colonies joined the effort. Alien species who had suffered under the Syndicate's rule now fought alongside humans. Humans had earned their trust, respect, and admiration. Where the Syndicate had ruled through fear, humans inspired loyalty and cooperation. The galaxy began to see humanity not as weak, but as a force of unity, ingenuity, and moral strength. Inside the Syndicate's central command station, executives and leaders panicked. Reports flooded in, fleets crippled, colonies rebelling, communication hubs disabled, and broadcasts hijacked. Their empire, built on cruelty and arrogance, was unraveling. They attempted a desperate counterstrike, but humans anticipated it. Cloaked ships struck from unexpected angles, disabling their engines and weapons. Boarding teams infiltrated key stations, neutralizing command nodes and capturing leaders alive. Alara addressed the captured executives through a broadcast that reached the entire galaxy. Her voice was calm, but filled with authority and power. You thought humans were weak. You thought our grief and fear would keep us passive. You thought our species could be exploited for entertainment. You were wrong. 7 million of our people were killed, but humanity remembered. Humanity adapted. Humanity struck back. And now justice is delivered. Across countless worlds, aliens watched the broadcast. Many were inspired, some were fearful, but all were convinced of one truth. Humans were extraordinary. Ordinary beings with courage, intelligence, and unity could accomplish what no empire could resist. Humanity had earned not just survival, it had earned respect and awe. The liberation of the remaining colonies proceeded swiftly. Humans repaired vital infrastructure, restored governance, and ensured the Syndicate's influence could never return. Every liberated colony celebrated, not with chaos, but with gratitude and cooperation. Humans had not only defeated the enemy, they had shown the galaxy what it meant to be honorable, just, and unstoppable. Even within human ranks, emotions were high. Many still mourned the 7 million lost, but their sorrow had been transformed into determination. Every action honored the fallen. Every victory was a tribute. And across Earth, survivors and families of victims understood that their species had accomplished something unprecedented, turning tragedy into triumph, despair into hope. Alara and Ryan walked through a liberated station orbiting a once-occupied planet. Colonists greeted them with cheers and tears. Engineers from the planet offered insights into improving human technology. Students volunteered to join fleet operations, and entire communities pledged to defend themselves against future threats. Humans were building not just armies, they were building alliances, trust, and a legacy of resilience. Meanwhile, remnants of the Syndicate attempted to flee, but humans had anticipated escape routes, setting traps and blocking critical paths. In one final confrontation, the Syndicate's top executives were cornered on a distant station. Surrounded by human forces, their attempts at negotiation were met with firm but fair terms. No needless bloodshed occurred. Humans captured their enemies alive to ensure justice, not revenge. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted, but they were tempered with reflection. Humans had survived the worst, struck back with intelligence and courage, and established themselves as a force the galaxy could not ignore. Alara addressed a live audience spanning multiple star systems. Humans have been tested in the worst way imaginable. We lost millions of our people, yet we turned grief into action, fear into courage, and loss into unity. Today, humanity has proven to the galaxy that we are more than a species. We are an idea, an unstoppable force when our hearts and minds are united. Let all beings know, humans will never be controlled, exploited, or humiliated again. The broadcast spread like wildfire. Across alien worlds, listeners were inspired by the combination of intelligence, resilience, and moral integrity that humans displayed. Many species began to reconsider their perception of humanity. Humans were no longer just a species, they were a symbol. Alara returned to the bridge of the Resolute, gazing at the stars. She thought of the 7 million lost, the countless families affected, and the millions who had contributed to the fight. Humanity had transformed tragedy into triumph, grief into determination, and weakness into unparalleled strength. Ryan approached. "Commander, the galaxy is changing. Humans are respected now. Feared, yes, but in the right way. Admired, it's incredible." Alara smiled faintly. "It's not about admiration. It's about being recognized for what we truly are. Humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans fight not just for ourselves, but for what is right. Today, the universe knows that, and tomorrow they will remember it." As humans consolidated their victories, they continued to prepare for the future. Colonies rebuilt, fleets repaired, and interstellar networks fortified. Humans established principles for cooperation with liberated systems, ensuring peace and stability. Their influence spread, but not through domination. It spread through respect, inspiration, and moral leadership. And across the stars, one lesson remained clear: humans could not be underestimated. The galaxy, which had once watched humans as victims or amusement, now watched them as equals, brilliant, resourceful, and fearless. Aliens who had mocked humanity were humbled. Those who had doubted were inspired. Humans had rewritten the rules, not by brute force alone, but through strategy, unity, ingenuity, and unshakable courage. Alara gazed at the distant lights of liberated colonies. Humanity had endured the unimaginable, struck back with brilliance, and earned its place in the galaxy. From tragedy had risen a force unmatched, a species defined not just by survival, but by honor, courage, and relentless ingenuity. As the final transmissions from the Syndicate's remnants were shut down, humans prepared for the next chapter in galactic history. They had proven their point. Humans were strong, humans were intelligent, and humans were unstoppable. The galaxy would never forget the day 7 million were killed, because it also witnessed the rise of humanity as a legend among stars. Commander Alara Voss whispered to herself, watching the horizon of space. "We will always remember, we will always act, and we will never be underestimated again." The galaxy watched humanity, not as prey, not as entertainment, but as a force to be respected. The story of tragedy turned into triumph had ended, for now, but the legacy of humanity's courage and ingenuity would endure forever.